Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the StadiumMK preview show. My name is Jake. As always, we're back for another Sky Bet League One preview as we travel to StadiumMK yet again. Feels like we're going there a lot in recent years. But we're joined by Liam from the MK1 podcast. Liam, my friend, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I think you've had some positive trips recently, but hopefully this one, from our sake, won't be as positive.
Not last season. Last season was pretty dire, but I can especially remember the season we were both at the top of League Two. That game
Yeah,
lived very long. It was just the fact that it was the header from, I think it was Cisse, wasn't it, that Jilk saved, went out for a goal kick. John Akinde's handballed it, fell to Bruno Andrade, and the rest is history. So not to we tried to make our guests feel very welcome here on the podcast, obviously. Right, Liam. We have to be blunt with it, really. Really good season last year. This year, not so much. Around the bottom four, you've been around there sort of all season. If you can, I know you sort of said if you could answer it, you wouldn't be sat here right now. But what do you put your finger on? Why has it gone wrong? Obviously, you've got the sales of Twine and Darling and etc. But what's happened, mate?
yeah. I mean, might as well start there. I think I was actually talk about in the latest episode. To be fair, about how there was previous case studies with Darling and Twine that typically the club has, they've gone out and made a marquee signing, and that's kind of gone really well. So there was definitely like a case study to do that again this summer. So I think a lot of the signings this summer were made a bit sooner than some clubs maybe expected because we were trying to get ahead of the curve and get our maybe supposed top targets in some senses. I think in some areas we lost out on our top targets, but I think all clubs do in some ways. So I think we definitely rushed our recruitment this summer, and that has, I think it's hurt us the most way it could have really. Obviously it still can, but I'd like to think that we've learned lessons from that. So yeah, probably obviously losing Darling, losing Twine, losing Troy Parrott, David Kisumu, the list goes on and on and on. Connor Coventry also, it's obviously hurt us a lot. We still had some of the core from last season, but it wasn't the players that we needed to propel ourselves back up towards that top of the table again, or around that sort of top half of the table. So that's definitely a key factor. The recruitment's not been great. And I think this window in particular, right, jumping ahead too far ahead, we are taking our time this time, which is nice. We are expecting news fairly soon about players and coaches, but we'll see what happens regarding that. And then I think with Liam Manning, obviously, who's now looking for a job again, I think the main reason why he went was just that I just don't feel he was getting enough from the squad. That he was, whether you say given or he helped recruit, I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. We were kind of waiting for that a bit of from a Liam Manning side when the going really got tough. Did Liam Manning and his players really get going? And never really happened. Whenever there was extended time on the training pitch, it was always, why did we look so bad, rather than I'll look at the improvements we've made, which is probably the biggest red flag out of all, actually, in terms of why he left the club. And yeah, that's why we sit, I think it's 22nd in the league at the moment, 23rd, one of the two. And yeah, these next two games are, again, pretty big ones in our season, really.
Yeah, I would agree. I can sort of see, Liam, sort of shades of us and you guys. We got to a playoff. We had a playoff campaign, maybe unexpectedly. You've then not capitalised and gone up when everything's sort of gone your way. You had Twine, we had Brennan Johnson. Everything's not gone your way. You've not got promoted. You've then had to, like you say, you've lost maybe 3 or 4 weeks of recruitment time. So you've been at poor recruiting. We had something similar, and then you've paid for it the season after. And it looks like you guys might have to pay a bigger fine than what we do. Obviously, we stayed up just about, and you guys might yet go down. It's undecided, but you've switched managers. You've gone from Liam Manning. You've just spoke about him there to Jackson, coming from Leeds. Had a lot of time under Bielsa, and Jesse Marsh seemed to speak highly of him. What have you made of Jackson in the first couple of weeks? Obviously, you got that win against Forest Green. It looked like maybe the boat was turning itself around, but it's sort of gone back. What do you make of Mike Jackson's sort of first couple of weeks in management at MK?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Jacko, I think those first, 3 games of Forest Green, Peterborough and Plymouth, he probably had about 2 real training sessions with the actual squad.
Mm.
So to judge him on those 3 games is quite harsh. Yeah, Forest Green, we got the 3 points. We were pretty crap, but we won, so that's all that matters. I don't really think Forest Green are that great, but that just shows you the caliber of teams that are down there. And you've been playing like so well for 6 months ago, and now you're scrapping with the Forest Greens of the world. So that's football for you. I think Plymouth was the first game where we actually saw some positive football being played. Yeah, we lost 3-1, and Morgan Whittaker is that second game in a row now where he's sort of had us on a plate, to be honest. But played it well. We probably should have obviously got the goal through Holland. Probably should have got another one through Isa. So if we go 2-1 ahead, different game really against top of the table. So we can't really have too much negatives about that. And then these past few weeks we didn't play last week because of the FA Cup and Shrewsbury being involved in that. So most of it's been working on the training ground. Jacko always talks about having an aggressive play style, and I think physically we're not good enough, quite frankly. And I think I mean that from an actual strength sense and an actual 90 minutes sense. So we've recruited a new fitness coach from Port Vale who's come in, and his sole purpose is to improve that fitness and physicality per player in the squad, which is good to see. So yeah, I like him overall. I think he's very open and very much like Russell Martin, to be fair, in terms of personality and the fact that he wants to be communicating with the fans a lot. I'm sure we'll get him on the podcast later in the season when he's had a bit less time, a bit more time in his hands. Sorry, to chat about it all. But yeah, no, he comes across very well. Obviously, listen, he's a bit inexperienced in this level of football, but I think the majority of our coaches have been that way, and the majority have worked out. Of course, Russell Martin being the shining example of that, Carl Robinson to an extent also. So, yeah, early signs are good, obviously, but what matters is the results and what you see on the pitch, eh?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I'm guessing then, from what you just told me about being physical and aggressive, it's quite a differing style of play to what we used to, obviously, with MK, like you mentioned, with Russell and Liam Manning, very much on the floor, pass it around the back. Even you throw anything at us, we'll try and pass it around you. Whether that was to your detriment, you still went through with it, even if you were 3-0 down, 4-1 down. I can remember when we played you at home in the year we got into the playoffs, you were still at 3-0 down, passing it around the back and trying to play that way of football. Under Jackson, it seems like that's going to be quite different. From early signs, have you sort of seen that you guys are maybe being a bit more direct rather than trying to kick it around the back for 90 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's a element we saw a bit with Martin in the fact that I think the sort of purpose and philosophy around MK Dons will always be possession football, controlling the game, etc., etc. I think that'll always be there no matter what manager comes in. I think at least whilst Pete Winkelman's there anyway as the owner, and the main man calling all the shots. But I think there's definitely a balance between having that possession, having that control, and also just going a bit direct, as you said, into going for games. I felt that there was times where, especially during Martin's reign, where you could see, and it's a bit like Swansea, really. You can see the possession. You say, "Oh, it's really, really good." 70% possession, 80% possession, but what are we actually doing with the football? And I think it's been nice in Jacko's system to see that we're playing through the lines a bit more. It's a bit of, again, possession with purpose, which is what Manning screamed about for ages, didn't actually really execute towards the end of his time. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to really get massively in depth on it all because there's literally been, you might as well say 2 games, Plymouth and this game coming up against Lincoln, and maybe Forest Green also. So maybe it's 3, but yeah, I mean, early signs are positive. Obviously, it's a squad which is underachieved so far, so there's a bit of expectation on them, and I'm sure there'll be some incomings and outgoings before the window ends. But yeah, I mean, overall, Jack is happy with the squad, and we know there's talent there. We just hope he's the right coach to get it out of them.
Yeah, you just touched on the window there, Liam. It was something I wanted to bring up. Are we expecting MK Dons to be fairly active in this window, given the fact that the board may overreact to where you are in the league table and slightly get alarmed? Do you think we might see MK dip into the market at all, maybe a bit heavier than what you had anticipated?
Not in terms of like financially. I mean, whether people actually notice or not, we actually spent the second most in the league on transfer fees in the summer. So we've already invested a lot in this squad. So that only emphasises even more how bad the squad's done, considering only Ipswich had more than us in the summer, at least according to some sources. So I think they're trying to be a bit more clever about it. I think there'll be some movement after Lincoln. I'm not sure who and what positions it'll be. I know some players have come available recently, which might interest them. But I mean, listen, I don't work in the recruitment team, and we'll see what happens. I would say that for incoming, there's got to be some outgoings. We've already seen Oyigake go back to Brentford, who, to be fair, had a pretty tough time. He was recruited for one system and played another system, and it just wasn't going to work out for him, especially with how good Henry Lawrence has played recently. So yeah, there'll be some incomings and outgoings. I don't think it'll be before the Lincoln game. I think it'll maybe be just after or in between that and the Forest Green game. But yeah, I think there'll be movement. It's just what positions and probably be loans, to be honest.
Yeah. And what position do you think? What do you think that the club are dying out for? Where if you were Jackson going into the window, what one position would you look to strengthen straight away?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think everyone, even the club, are in agreement that we need more physicality in the centre of the park. So it's got to be a centre mid. I know we were linked with some Sunderland lads. Oh, sorry, some West Ham lad who's linked with Sunderland, but it probably won't be him. But someone like that who can pass the ball, can bully people, is very much box to box player. I think the club are very much hoping that'd be Bradley Johnson. He's had his good games, had plenty of bad ones also, and he doesn't really have the ability to really execute that type of role. So we need a lad who is in the 20s who can, be a box to box player who can be physical and help out the likes of Dawson Devoy, who is very much at this, especially this stage of his career, a player who needs to play further at the pitch, needs to be like an 8 or a 10. And even Josh McEachran, who, he's not the most physical bloke in the world, but he can do a job in that centre in midfield when he has like a Connor Coventry, for example, sort of bullying other players and helping him free up space and allow him, give him time essentially. So yeah, the players are there. They need some working around. I think the actual spine, besides the centre mid, is there, which is the key thing to any decent team. It's just balancing out the squad a bit more and getting rid of some of the dead weight, quite frankly.
Yeah, I would agree, mate. Obviously, we'll move on to Saturday then. We're travelling to StadiumMK yet again. Like I said, it feels like we're going there a lot recently. What are you expecting then from an MK Dons point of view? We'll touch on what you think Lincoln are going to do later on, but what are we expecting in terms of a game plan? Perhaps is this a game that Mike Jackson will be looking at and going, do you know what, that's a winnable game given Lincoln's form, etc.
Yeah, I think I'd hope that Jackson's created the feeling of, listen, we are in the league. Let's just play with no fear and let's go at teams. Did against Plymouth. To be fair, different day. It probably worked to get 3 points actually. So it's definitely the right approach, I'd say. When we were doing our sort of chat on Lincoln for our pod, actually, we were sort of saying how against the teams towards top of the table, you guys tend to be a bit more defensive, but against teams like us, it's very much more attacking football. So might benefit us a bit more in the fact that it's a bit more open. We can essentially press ourselves a bit more going forward, and the likes of Holland, Barry, Isa, and whoever else can have a bit more space and have that bit more freedom going forward. So I'd expect a fast start, to be honest. I'll be surprised if you don't get a fast start from Dons. Maybe a few early yellows. We'll see what happens. But no, I'm expecting a bit of a feisty game, but definitely a close one and a bit of a nail biter.
Yeah, you've mentioned Holland, Isa, and Barry. They're all extremely good players at this level. So you're still going to be a threat despite your position on the table. Clearly, you've done your homework on Lincoln. Then what have you made of Lincoln's season so far? I think we're sat in 17th. We're very inconsistent. Yeah. We beat the big teams. We don't beat the smaller teams. What have you made of Lincoln so far this year?
Well, I mean, it's very similar to us in many ways. I feel that defensively, you've been good enough. I said you're beating the big boys pretty much whenever you play them, which is a good sign of a good team. But the fact that you're the only team in the league below us in terms of open play expected goals kind of says that you don't really finish your dinner, which is good for us. Obviously, you got Jack Diamond and I think it's Ben House, who I don't really know much about, to be honest, until he moved to you guys from Eastleigh. But guys that can score goals. And obviously, there's this thing about Diamond potentially going back, but
Mm.
some dangerous players there. I just think we're both in a similar position. We've struggled this year, but I think there's definitely the chance for both teams to turn it around, especially in your case with the fact that you've proven you can beat the best teams in the league. So why can't you beat the Burtons and the Forest Greens, for example?
Yeah, and the question that most Lincoln fans will be asking MK Dons fans is: are you looking forward to seeing Joe Walsh again?
That's quite a few. There's we've got Regan Paul, Joe Walsh,
Yeah,
Sorensen.
yeah.
There's quite a few in the squad. Yeah.
It's always
No,
been that case. Whenever
Walshy.
I've interviewed you, Liam, we've always had some sort of MK Dons player. And we had McGrandles, obviously. Now we've got
Yeah, of course.
Lass, Regan, Walsh. You had Connor Coventry last year. So we seem to exchange. But Jake Keskiff's another one. So looking forward to seeing some of the old boys.
Yeah, I mean, Walshy was always a solid League One defender for us and didn't really do too much wrong, but again, was never really part of a promotion winning team. So it was always like okay, cool, he's a steady League One player, but there was always a time limit on his time at Dons. It'd be good to see him. I mean, hopefully he has an absolutely terrible game, but I will see what happens, eh?
And what do you think you're going to go for a score prediction then?
Oh, I've gone 1-1. I feel it'll be. I think we're fairly even teams, and I feel both managers will have a similar mindset as to how they want to attack the game. And I think both teams will be happy with a point with how the game goes, and especially from our perspective, where you guys are in the league, and be a point gain rather than 2 points lost. But yeah, I think overall, the fans are just excited to see what a Jackson team can actually do with a bit of time on a training pitch. Phil, as said, Manning said about training pitch time, we got worse. So
Yeah.
we can only hope that a Jackson training time is a bit better than Manning's.
Yeah, and please do plug the MK1 podcast because you guys do some really good work over there as well.
Yeah. I say MK1 podcast and all socials and wherever podcast platforms you listen to. Obviously, we do weekly previews about the games coming up, and of course, there's anything Dons. So, if you want a bit of insight into how we're going at the moment, head over there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Liam, for coming on at such short notice. What we're now Wednesday evening, so this will be up Thursday. But thank you, Liam, for coming on, mate. This time of night as well, which is quite rare to get people to come on, but caught you in the right mood clearly with your microphone out. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for watching the Stacey PV show. We'll be back for another episode of the West End Imp Show. Please do remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the word on the podcast as well. But for now, up the Imps. Thank you for watching.